Good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. Hit the like button. Please hit the share button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already to the channel. And hit the little bell notification button next to the sub one. That way you know when we go live, the sub one. It's really bad. But there we go. Paul Pogba, that's who we're talking about this morning. He has informed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that he would like to stay at Manchester United. Of course, the contract negotiations need to begin between his representatives and Manchester United. But this is exceedingly positive news. And do not allow anybody to defer you from the fact that 12 months ago or so, Paul Pogba was most certainly looking for an alternative. Paul Pogba was certainly looking for a move away from Manchester United. And I've admitted this on multiple occasions. I got it wrong in relation to Ole. I didn't think he had the tactical nous. I didn't believe he had the overall managerial experience, and maybe even the overall togetherness to lead Man United in the right direction. I was fundamentally wrong on every single count. Not only is he rebuilding the culture, we are playing beautiful football again that is attractive, that is encouraging. We're signing the right kind of players for the right reasons. We're behaving better off the pitch. The way the club has conducted itself in recent months has been absolutely exemplary. And now we are seeing our very best player in Paul Pogba telling Ole and the club that he is willing to stay and negotiate a new contract. Of course, 1 year remaining on his current deal with a year extension available. So there's still 2 years that he could play for Man United if we didn't want to sell him. We know for a fact, I believe it's a fact that a big reason for this is the Bruno Fernandes effect. And on top of that, you have the situation with Jadon Sancho coming in. What a club this now is for anybody to sit there and to want to conduct their business in. It truly, truly is. As ever, I want your views and opinions. The StreamYard line is open. I want your reaction to this news. E-Boss here says, Paul Pogba to sign. I'm jealous. And most fans will be. Devil in the Detail says more United fans need to accept they were wrong about Ole and get over their egos. Do you know what exactly? I mean, I get called out every day and called a flip-flop for changing my mind. Cool. Listen, one of the biggest reasons I came out and apologized. Two differences with myself. One, even when I didn't think Ole was the man, I praised every good performance and good result still. And praised the good things he did within it. The difference is I saw the light and I came out and apologized. And the biggest reason for me wanting to do that is because I wanted to enjoy these times. And you know what? Comment here is absolutely bang on from Devil in the Details. When Ole said, I can give Pogba a new challenge. This is why I think everybody's got to start respecting Ole, man. This man was leaving. Pogba wanted to go. And we've convinced him that this is the right place to stay. And it isn't through words. It isn't through empty gestures. It's because he's built something that is going to be capable of winning major trophies. He's built something that is attractive for potential players. There's no doubt about it. Yes, I did see the Kai Havertz news. We're going to touch on that later on today. But this morning we are focusing on Paul Pogba, on Manchester United in this news. A few people are asking for sources. Well, I tell you what, Fabrizio Romano is the guy that comes out with a lot of this stuff and lets us know a lot of this information. You can see here, I'm going to put my Twitter page up on the screen. See, we quoted the news. As opposed to, we didn't make the news, we quoted. Let me just zoom in a little bit closer here so you can see. Talks have opened with Raiola to extend Pogba's contract. He's awaiting for the first bid. It's not agreed yet. Now, this is what's really important to remember when it comes to this news. I believe Paul Pogba has informed Ole that he's willing to stay. What we then have to remember is devil is always in the details. The football club needs to make the right offers. They need to pay the right level of compensation. They need to pay him for his commerciality. And as long as we can agree that and we can show Paul that we're moving in the right direction, I think he'll stay. You know, Paul Pogba's reasoning for wanting to leave was no different to that. No different to that of Wayne Rooney all them years ago when he was looking at leaving the Man City situation when it was going on. As an example, if we take the mouse here actually and go and click here on... We go on to Fabrizio's page. We will touch on the Kai Havertz information later. This is what he said about the situation. He says, Solskjaer on Paul Pogba's new deal. This is Solskjaer's comments. He says, I can't comment on discussions with players. That's the one I'm interested in. Discussions with players. Is it Paul Pogba saying he wants to sign and a deal being thrashed out between the money men is one thing. But I think that Paul has told Ollie that he's willing to stay. We've known for a long time that the relationship between Ollie and Pogba has been absolutely brilliant. There's been no problems with it at all. He says, but of course we want to keep the best players around our club. Man United have opened talks with Mino Raiola to extend his contract. He's awaiting the first bid, not agreed yet. And that's remember that. I can commit all I want in, me and my boss can sit down. I could be looking at leaving in case I want a pay rise. I want a bigger bonus. Otherwise, I'm going to move to a new company who have offered me that. My boss can tell me, listen, I want to keep you. Would you stay if we give you X, if we give you Y, if we give you Z? I say yes. Doesn't mean the deal's agreed because they've actually got to offer that to me on paper. Man United have to deliver. If the last 4 or 5 games of this season we peter out, and in fact this was just a flash in the pan, if we can't sign Jadon Sancho as an example, maybe Paul will decide not to sign. We need to continue this momentum forward. But I think all signs are excessively positive at this moment in time. They really, really are. Ghostwriter here with a super chat says, I'm not a hater, but the fact United fans are praising them for putting a bit of a run together is silly, in my opinion. You have 9 players, £50 million or over. Bro, do you know what? I get where you're coming from, Ghostwriter. My response would just be, if you go back to 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, we've always had that amount of players who have either been purchased for that amount of money or worth that amount of money. That's been the frustrating part for Man United fans. We have spent 800 to 900 million pounds since Fergie retired, and we couldn't make it work. Man United fans do not care that we spend money on players. I don't care if every player in our starting 11 cost us 50 million pounds. As long as we're winning, I can take the banter. Oh, you bought it. I don't care. It's about it working. When we signed Mkhitaryan, Zlatan, Pogba, Bailly in one summer, and you couple that in with all the other players who are 30, 40 million, by the way, 5 years ago, a 30, 40 million pound player is a 50, 60 million pound player today in the current climate. But we expected performances and we didn't get them. And I think what you've also got to look at is how long ago were some of these players purchased? I look at the Matic situation. People are like, a lot of people were thinking he was a waste of money. If we get another couple of years out of him at this level, he's been a good bargain. If Fred continues to play at the level he's demonstrated for the last 9 months, that £50 million over a 5-6 year period will be well spent. You then throw into the fact that, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, worth every penny. Maguire, worth every penny. We can't get away from that. Luke Shaw hasn't set the world alight, but he cost us £27 million 6 years ago. I think he's been value for money. He hasn't set the world alight, but he's been value for money, in my view. This is a good question. What if Pogba wants 450k a week? If that's affordable to Manchester United, then pay him it. I'm not worried about how much money these players earn if we're playing the right football. I don't care about that. As long as we're not overspending in a way that could see us bankrupt ourselves, I couldn't care less. I couldn't. The only time I care about spending in football, go back and watch all my content, is when people profess that they haven't spent. When people try and behave like they're working on a shoestring budget and they're not one of the big boys. When they try and act like they're a Cinderella story, when in fact they're more of a Richie Rich story. That's the only time I care about it. Have you ever heard me say City have bought the league? Have you ever heard me say that Chelsea shouldn't be allowed to spend Roman's money? I might banter it, but have I ever said it in real serious terms? No. Devil in the details with a big hitting comment here. He says, I think United should sell Fred. He shouldn't get a new contract. He hasn't been value for money at all. And that's an interesting point. It's a very interesting point, Devil, because how do I put this? I think in his first 18 months, no, but I believe since October he has. And I think now he can push on from there. And if we get the level of performance we've seen from October for another 2 or 3 years, it's been worth the money. And he'll probably get a new deal. And if he continues at that level, my view would be this. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. However, I also really respect Ollie in the transfer market. His picks have been precise and brilliant, and for the level of player they are, I think they've all done very, very well, and beyond that. So if, I was saying, I really like Jorginho at Chelsea. If we decided to sell Fred this summer and buy Jorginho, I'd back it. If we decided to sell Fred and buy Thomas Partey, I'd back it. Sell Fred, sign Ndidi, I'd back it. Because I trust Ollie in the market. Stro here said, Terry, it's 8:40. Lol, your work rate is untouched. I appreciate that, bro. And do you know the reason I don't stream earlier than this? It's because I have business calls in the morning first thing, because I have a lot of clients that are based out in Hong Kong and Singapore. So I have to get up really early so I can have meetings with them. But yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you. Ghostwriter again says, my point is you're misunderstanding the expectations. You should be applying to your team and happy, but really you should be competing with the best. Oh, Ghostwriter, you're right. But you see, how do I put it this way? If I weigh 18 stone and I've got a huge fat belly, a big double chin, fat all over my legs, I might want to have a six pack. I might want to be ripped and look like Arnie. But I need to progress to that point. I can't go from being an 18 stone tub of lard like I used to being slim with a six pack, which I don't have, by the way, to having a six pack and big arms and defined pecs and wonderful thighs. That's the end result. Man United are at that stage now where we've lost the excess fat and you're starting to see the shape come through. You should still be proud of that progression. You should be proud of that progression and then use it as a base camp to move to the next level. That's my argument to United fans all along. I've got high expectations. I only want us competing for the league. I'm only going to be happy when we're competing for the league. But you have to recognize the progression within that. You can't go from A to Z without going through B, C, D, E, and everything else. And as long as you're progressing, there should be pride. We're going to jump into a call here. Devil in the details. Danny's in the house. Danny.
Well, just getting rid of the milk bottles. Your analogies kill me. Wonderful fires.
Bro, listen, man. When I first started getting gym as a youngster, it was all about arms and chest and maybe shoulders. Now it's, what do you squat? What are the legs like? Do you know what I mean? And up until lockdown, my legs were in a good position. They were like, my jeans weren't, I do wear skinny jeans. I'm a typical white boy, but like I weren't fitting in them, bro. But yeah, what do you make of this news? I mean, for me, it seems pretty concrete, especially with Fabrizio reporting on it, that Pogba would like to sign a new deal and then they're going to start thrashing it out at the end of the season. What's your reaction to it, mate?
My reaction is, obviously, I'm absolutely delighted. Paul Pogba, man. Do you know what it is? It's been a long time since Man United had a significant advantage over their rivals. And having Paul Pogba and Bruno in the same team, that's just... Furthermore, there's no central midfielder. But like Paul Pogba's a central midfielder. He's just a CM. He's not an attacking midfielder. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's just a weird four-dimensional player who can do a bit of everything. But what he's amazing at is devastating in the final third. He's an advantage that, if we sign him, if we get into this new contract and we have him for the next 3 seasons or whatever it is, we've got a big advantage, Unless some 20-year-old that I haven't heard of emerges in the next few years, no other central midfielder can touch him. Don't compare him to De Bruyne. Don't do comparisons that don't make sense. Central midfielders who play in double pivot midfield, there's no comparison. Nobody compares to Paul Pogba. And that's a huge advantage that Man United will have over the next, if he does sign a new contract, we're going to have a big advantage. And what I would say is I'm not that surprised, because with all the noise of his agent, there's one thing his agent said, which was quoted by Sky Sports, where he said, I'm calm about Paul Pogba's situation. For all you know, I can be negotiating a new contract with Edward Wood very soon. He said that. Mm. And everyone just... And you know what? That's the cycle of that quote died very, very quickly because it didn't fit the narrative and all of, the soap opera around Paul Pogba.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is Ollie, bruv. Do you know what I feel like with Ollie? There's other quotes. There's so much I wish I had the time just to sit and do like an 8-hour podcast on what Ollie's been doing. I think that needs to happen one day. We need to go through it in linear order. There was a quote today that Ollie is looking, for instance, bolstering the squad. Well, he spoke about how Matic and McTominay are at different ends of their careers, which is true. And that United are really primarily focusing on players who are in that middle range, that 24 to 27 years of age. And, we're going to add Jackson, just because he's got the same name as my son, to the stream as well. And, How you doing, mate? 1 second, bro. Yeah, and I feel like he's talking about 24, 27-year-olds. And I've been sitting there for about 9 months saying to people, yet Sancho's an exception because of the level of player that he is. But for me, it's those 24 to 27-year-olds now this squad needs. And I go, and this is how you know. And do you know what's interesting as well? When these quotes are coming out now about Ollie wanting to rebuild the kind of energy and mentality that the treble winning team had, you know that we're playing really good football. You notice how you don't have those Man United fans saying, oh, stop living in the past and thinking you're Fergie. Those things were never what bothered me about Ollie. All I was ever bothered about is I couldn't see the wood for the trees. But those people have gone quiet now because we're seeing good football. And it isn't about copying Fergie. It's just about creating an ethos. And Gary Neville said this at the beginning of the summer, that the difference between the young players in our team now and when he was coming through is that they weren't expected to be the match winners, the ballers, the elder statesmen. They had the Pallisters, the Cantonars, the Mark Hugheses of this world when they originally came through to help them. This crop of United youngsters, it was all on Martial, it was all on Rashford, it was all on these kids to be the stars, and I think that Ollie knew that, and that's why Ollie, wants to keep Pogba. It's why he's brought in Bruno, Maguire. AWB's young, of course, and Dan James is squad young. If you do bring a Van der Beek at his age, maybe he's experienced. He ain't in that category, but he's a little old. If you bring in a Grealish as an example, if we go for another defender who's 25, 26, and you add that quality player, but of an experience level, whose frontal lobe is fully formed at 25 years of age, who's, they're not too young to move countries, they're not too young to move cities, where maybe that impacts them a little bit more. I just think we're really onto a winner here. Jackson, welcome to the stream, mate. What's your view on looking to sign a new deal?
Yeah, look, it's always good news. I mean, since we've come back from lockdown, I never really got on Pogba's back. I think a lot of that stuff is all to do with Raiola, that he kind of does run into a lot of hate for. But whenever he's on the pitch, he seems to perform for us. Like Ollie seems to love him. The team seems to love him. If he was as toxic as Jose would like a lot of us to believe, I think you wouldn't be seeing that. And it's showing.
Not Jose, the son.
People talk about Bruno, but we've gone up a gear again since Pogba's come into the team, I think. In my opinion, anyway, I think, we're really starting to see a fruition of what Ollie wants to build, and we've got to kind of stick with him, I think, because no other manager had the bollocks to kind of axe off a lot of these, like the guys like your Chris Smallings, your Phil Jones, your Alexi Sanchez's. Managers would come into the team, give them a year to see how they go, realise the Glazers aren't giving them replacements, and they'd stay here despite not being good enough. I think Ollie, as a fan, knows that, has come in, axed it, knowing he's not getting replacements, and has done a brilliant job, really, putting this team together. And, I'm really excited for the end of the season.
Jackson, you put on an amazing point there. If you look at again, and this is where, you live and learn in life. I'm 34 years of age, and I learn something new all the time, and I did in this Ollie situation, because there was a couple of things. One, everyone was crying, and, in Ollie's early days when they were, the Ashley Youngs were getting new deals. And I was sitting there saying, well, hang on, we have to be careful here. We get rid of every player that you think is trash, and we don't bring in enough replacements. We have a waste-thin squad. And although Ashley Young was never the future, I'd rather have an Ashley Young than a completely unchested and untried academy player who maybe you're throwing in, like Van Gaal did. Van Gaal probably threw in some of our youngsters a year or two before they were ready, and that had a detrimental effect on their development, right? I think that's important. So he's cleared out the majority of the deadwood over a sensible period of time, and there are 2 or 3 players remaining. But yet there doesn't seem to be any, again, from his haters, not people that wanted him out, I didn't think he was good enough. I'm talking the actual genuine haters out there. Jackson, I'm just going to mute you for a second, getting a bit of playback. Sorry, bro. No real credit for that. The other element is, where are all the journalists who in August were telling us that we haven't replaced Lukaku and Sanchez's goals? And people like me at the time said, well, as long as Mason Greenwood scores at least 5 goals this season, we've replaced Alexis Sanchez, because that's all he...
At least 5.
Got 5 goals in 18 months. Do you get what I mean?
I know, it's so bad.
And this is why, again, these are the things I was thinking about. Again, it was me going back over my own original thoughts, taking my emotion out and going, actually, do you know what? So many of the things that Ollie was being criticised for, we're starting to see the green shoots of then, and we're now starting to see the plant fully form itself in that way. And, the deadwood's being cleared out. the actual viruses, and I'm not saying they were bad people, but individuals that I don't think truly wanted to be at Manchester United have been slowly moved out. You'll see another 3 or 4 players, Rojos, Joneses, Pereiras, of that. Maybe they're not all going to go, but another chunk of them will go. Another 3 or 4 again will go this summer. You'll see another 1 or 2 academy players bought through. You'll see 2 or 3 more quality signings this summer, and you're going to see United start to take shape. And the bitter, and that's why I think Paul Pogba was looking to stay. And it's the same reason that I was given by someone that I know that's had involvement in the Sancho deal. Sancho said no to the idea in the summer based on the fact that he didn't know if it was the right environment to further his career. By December, he changed his mind through what he'd been told. Paul Pogba, the story is that Pogba was away the majority of the season. The team he returned back to in February time, he walked in and was like, wow, what's this club? Where's this come from? And I even look at Matic. Matic is another amazing example. Was almost slagging Ollie off in the press in the beginning of the summer.
Direct quote saying, quote. Right. Yeah.
Oh, he picks a team, but if it doesn't work, it's on him. Ollie, I'm sure Ollie bollocked him behind the scenes, but did what every great leader in this world does. Whether you're a store manager of a phone shop, right through to running the country, you bollock somebody. But once you do that, and this is advice here to anyone who's a leader, you bollock someone, you let them know they're wrong. But then you wipe your mouths and moves on, and you literally put that incident behind you, and you treat that person with respect. That's where previous managers went wrong. They held grudges from that moment onwards, and it creates a problem. Imagine you get told off by your boss today. How horrible a work environment will it be if every day you come into work, you can still feel that discipline, that moment sort of festering. You can still smell it in the air. You want it finished, you want it gone so you can push on. And I think Ollie has got that level of man management down to a T. Jackson, listen, mate, I appreciate you coming on and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro. It's obviously late or early for you. I don't know. You sound like you're in Australia or New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm in Australia. It's 6 o'clock here.
Look at that. But apologies not knowing exactly where the accent's from. Awful with that sort of thing, mate. I have no idea. No idea. Take care, Jackson. Thank you very much, mate. Brilliant name as well, by the way. We had another super chat that came through here from Rachel, which says, I think City will lose a lot of key players if the Champions League ban is held up. And also Man United are looking right now. And the news about Pogba, his new contract is amazing. I agree. And thank you for the super chat. It means a great deal to us, Rachel. I
don't think City are going to lose as many players as people think, to be honest.
You don't think?
No, I think it's, again, that's the doomsday scenario. I think they may lose 1 or 2. They may lose. I think it's De Bruyne because of his age. Sterling ain't going to leave. Sterling's not leaving. If you think about their top players, they're going to cost a lot of money. And again, whenever a top player becomes available, the media like to fantasize about who can buy them. But in reality, we know there's only a handful of football clubs that can afford a player outright for over £70 million. And if they've already spent, and most clubs, if they spent like 100 mil the year before, they're not going to do it again the following summer. Only a few clubs can do that. I don't think they're going to lose 3 or 4 top players. Bear in mind as well, they've got no top defenders anyway. So they'd be happy to lose Stones and Otamendi. It's really if they lose De Bruyne, Sterling, Bernardo Silva, like Aguero. Why would Aguero leave at this point? Mahrez, where's Mahrez? I just don't think they're going to lose a lot of players. I really don't.
I kind of hear that. I think that's what we were all hoping. But let's see. Comments this morning. This is from Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. This is a direct quote from Pogba. Because I've been training well. The club have been looking after me very well. We play more as a team than we did before. We enjoy it. We defend together. We attack together. I'm enjoying just watching Bruno, Rashford, Martial, and Mason. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
That is beautiful. For me, that is a telling quote. And the bit that
he's happy. He's very happy.
Here.
It's beautiful.
The club have been looking after me well. That there is the key element here. If you compare that to quotes a year ago about wanting a new challenge, as an example, he did feel disenfranchised, and I think this is where I'll stand by what I said in the first instance. Those comments by Paul Pogba I felt were wrong. I felt that they were unprofessional. However, in terms of how we delivered them. However,
I disagree.
Do I understand? What I mean by that is I kind of feel like if I employ
you've got an old school football fan mentality, Terry. That's
no.
No.
It's a professional thing. If you two if I come and employ you to work for me here directly, and you're not happy about something that's going on, and you talk about it publicly, I'll be pissed with you. I think that's something you keep behind closed doors. That's all. I stay true to that in the sense of I don't want Ollie slagging a player off in public. unless you are pushed to the end of your tether and every other methodology hasn't worked, as an example. But as a general rule, I don't like dirty linen being aired in public. However, I completely understood why Pogba was looking to leave. Football players have 10, 15 years max at the highest level. You can't spend your time at a club wasting it. You know, if by the way, if we don't improve from this point and we just go back to the LVG Jose days again in the next couple of years, I will advocate in the same way as I'm shouting for Harry Kane to leave Tottenham. I'll say the same thing about Mason. I'll say the same thing about Rashford, because I don't want
to. A better man than me, Terry.
Yeah, that's just the unbiased nature. United fans are the most unappreciative team ever. They want Sancho and they're stacked.
As an AFC
As an Arsenal fan, your expectations should be higher.
Oh yeah.
By the way, thank you for your compliment saying that you think I already have the body. Yes, underneath the fat, underneath the layers of flab, I do have a body. Like my stomach, it's still rock hard underneath there. Like I've got good muscle memory from all my years of fighting. But the body, I need to work on it, bro. I can't go from looking like this to looking like Brad Pitt in Snatch or Brad Pitt. That was physique, right? I can't go from that to that in 5 training sessions. That's a 6-month body of work. But 3 months in, when I see progression, I should be proud. That's the point, bro. Gabriel, welcome this morning. Pogba looking like he's going to sign a new deal. The world of Man United fans is buzzing. What are you thinking about that?
I'm so excited. But I kind of predicted it, because I think if we show intent in the transfer market, and if we show that we're serious and we want to get back to winning ways and winning trophies and being Man United, you know, I think he'll stay, because he'll see the progression. And he's just happy here because he's he's been in Manchester. He first came to Manchester United when he was 16 in 2009. So he's been here for a while, and he loves the city. He loves the club. He loves the people who work there. He loves the environment. The only reason he went to Juventus in the first place to get game time, but he loves Manchester United. So if we show him that we're serious and that we're buying players like Sancho, Grealish, and those kind of players, absolutely he will commit his long-term future. I'm sure of it.
I agree. It's interesting as well. This again, rival fans throw your salt. It's cool, but Man United fans often get triggered by it and opt to side with the enemy. Notice how nobody's telling us it's a waste of money. Nobody's telling us, if he stays in your midfield, you're not going to progress. You notice how what they're throwing is he's only staying for the money. He's only staying because of CV19. It's nothing about
nobody wanted him.
Nobody wanted him. It's
blah blah blah.
Because they know, bro.
They know. And that's what you've always got to remember. Always look at what people are criticizing as opposed to the target. Forget the target. Look at what they're saying and what they're not. There's nothing they know. Everybody's seen what's happened here. And again, we saw it last night. And this is how you've got to take rival criticism with a pinch of salt when people logic changes. And if I ever change my logic, call me, you two, everyone watching, call me out on my logic being changed, because the other day when Bruno scored a brace and one of the best counter-attacking goals we've scored in years against Brighton, we were buzzing. Liverpool fans told us it's just Brighton. Last night, they were fawning, melting. They were excited beyond belief over the performance of
3-1
at Naby Keita against the same team. Yeah. Brighton. Naby things, Naby's this, Naby's that. And that's cool for them. Naby had a really good game. But you didn't see me say Naby didn't have a great game. Their opinion of the quality of Brighton changes depending on which player from which team performs well. That's flawed logic. That's actually that's just delusion.
That's bias, right?
And can I just add to that, Terry?
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Always.
So Messi's best goal for Barcelona was scored against who? Getafe.
Bayern Munich?
No, it was Getafe. You know that Maradona-like goal he scored? It was against
I know what you mean.
It was against the relegation. Okay, yeah. It was against the small. It wasn't against the Barcelona. I mean, against the Real Madrid or Juventus. His greatest goal for Barcelona was scored against Getafe, and no one cares because it's a great goal. Like, you beat what's in front of you. You know what it is, and you know what's stupid about their arguments as well. We have a good record in the big games.
Exactly. That's what I don't understand.
Exactly. My son's going mad.
It's cool, bro.
Sorry, Tel.
All right, mate. You ain't got to say sorry, mate. It's absolutely fine. No, I agree, and that's the thing. See, the way I look at it is this: like, I didn't have a go. You know, Liverpool played well last night. I even tweeted Liverpool on fire, Liverpool doing good, because my logic remains the same. You know, I'll
consistent at least, yeah.
It's just how you do stuff, and you know, it's interesting. I've been sort of. I'm not dying on a hill. I've done it on purpose. Again, I've lured people into my trap, talking about Martial being better than Werner, knowing that the only response people will have is that Werner's stats have been better than Martial's. And it's like, cool, Martial is an inconsistent player. He's this, is that. So it's like, okay, well, why do you all praise Firmino then? When, you know, Martial scores a goal every 120 minutes, and you call him inconsistent. Firmino scores a goal every 330 odd minutes. In fact, Firmino misses a big chance every 137 minutes. So he's always missing a big chance at the same rate as Martial is scoring goals. And I didn't do it because I want to have, but you know, you get the flawed logic there. When it comes to comparing Martial against Werner, all that people care about is the stats. When you compare Martial against Firmino, all people care about is the eye test and the space he finds and the touches and the little nuances. And I look at it this way. I think we should look at both. But the problem is with most football fans, they will drop one when it doesn't suit their
and disregard the other.
And when it comes down to it, is there a great deal of difference between the overall qualities of Werner, Firmino, Martial? No, I think they're all in and around that same level of
same
player.
bracket. Yeah.
Preference. And I know that. And you know, and the whole argument come from who would I pick? Now I have a bias. And the reason I have a bias is because isn't just because they're United players. Like someone said to me the other day, like, would you take Kevin De Bruyne over Bruno? The answer is going to be no every day of the week because I don't know. I know that Bruno fits. I don't know if Kevin De Bruyne does. So I can't help but be logical in my thought process. Do you get what I mean? Like if someone said you've got a 50-goal a season striker who does it in the Premier League and a 50-goal a season striker who does it in La Liga, you can have one of them. I'd pick the Premier League guy because I feel there's less chance of that going wrong. And it's always logic for me. It's, if you get where I'm coming from, and it's one of those.
Can I ask you guys? You see that comment that I put in about Fred? I don't know if Gabriel. I don't know if Gabriel.
Gabriel, I love you.
No, I didn't see it. What did you say?
So I was saying to Terry that I think we should cash in on Fred now. I don't think we should give him a new contract. Mainly because, for me, like realistically, right, our midfield is slightly unbalanced because we only have one real DM. We've got two box-to-box midfielders in Fred and McTominay, and then we have Pogba, who's a normal CM. I think we should cash in on Fred now and we can get better value for money because his new contract is going to be around 150 grand a week. It's going to be a premium contract he's going to get. He's 26, 27. He costs £50 million. Realistically, he's had a good 4 or 5 month spell at the football club. He's now going to be a squad player. I think we can find better value for money and sign somebody who can replace Matic now. We don't need two box-to-box players for me. We don't need him and McTominay. We need a DM because, trust me, I think we've already seen it in games already this season. Pogba and Matic, there's a limit to what they can do defensively together. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think having Fred or McTominay next to Pogba is going to solve that because they just have better legs than Matic. They're not more intelligent. They don't have the positional intelligence that Matic has. So I'd cash in. This summer, I'd cash in on Fred. That's my argument.
I think it's a good strategy. I agree with you. But I saw an interview with Solskjaer in which he said that he saw Scott as an understudy to Matic and they wanted to develop Scott as a DM. So and then that would leave Fred as the only box-to-box, truly box-to-box player. So your strategy is actually quite good. I agree with it. If you could cash in, maybe get 40 million, 50 million at a push, you could buy a Declan Rice or a Zakaria or someone like that. I agree, but I don't think Solskjaer sees him as that. So yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I always, like I've said, if Ollie decides to do it, I'm backing it. See, the real interesting one here, and I love these kind of comments. Back to the Martial thing. This is more opinion. I think my opinion is that Firmino makes Mane and Salah click. You cannot say the same about Martial for United. Rashford has 20 goals this season, and Mason Greenwood, the kid, has 15. So the point being, my view is. So, and this
that's wrong. Yeah, that comment is wrong.
That comment's confusing.
Well, this is definitely anecdotal, slightly anecdotal. But I would say that if you look at the majority of goals that Mason and Rashford have scored, it's been when Martial has been playing. We saw that, bad run of form this season, it coincided with Martial not being in the team predominantly.
When he played as a striker, yeah.
This is where people's logic lets them down. If you look at the fact that I would love to, I'll run the numbers on it, but I guarantee you 80% of Greenwood's goals and Rashford's goals have come when Martial's been involved in the team that day. They're a unit. They're a collective three and they work together. You know, they've scored 55 goals between themselves this year. That's because they click. And the great thing is they're interchangeable. And that's what I love about it. So the Martial thing is it. And like I've said, if we keep Pogba and we sign Sancho, Martial next season will outscore Werner in the Premier League. Now,
oh yeah, for sure.
And the reason I'm saying that is anyone who's saying
he's a better finisher. He's a better finisher. That's you can't question that. He's a better finisher.
Anyone who says that Werner's better because he scores more goals, when Martial outscores him next year, then the reason I'm saying that now is I'm then so looking forward to what your excuse is going to be, because you've said that now Werner's better because he scores more. When he gets outscored, we are what we are. But boys, listen, I appreciate you both coming on. I appreciate you all getting involved. Pogba, let's get that deal done, bro. Let's get you signed up, because not only is it great.
Sign the ting, bro.
He put people bitter. I love it. I just
sign the ting.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, isn't it amazing how we've had like a very up and down season? We're not going to win the Champions League. We haven't won the Premier League, but yet we're still the most talked about team on the planet. It's
always,
so,
bro. Always.
Imagine what's that phrase, Terry? The most hated something but never forgotten. I don't know how it goes.
Well,
yes, always adored or something. Yeah. Ignored. I can't remember. I don't remember. Yeah.
Hated, adored, but never ignored. There we go. That's it. So
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Rival adored by fans, but we're never ignored by anybody. It's amazing. And like I've said, I was saying to a Chelsea fan the other day, I'd argue United and Chelsea have been the biggest two teams in Premier League history because of the amount of titles they've won and everything else, right? So isn't it amazing? Even with this season, which has had so many things happen in this 2018-2019 campaign due to inside and outside football influence, Liverpool winning their first, all these things, yet the most exciting element is Chelsea and Man United challenging for a top four place. It just shows who the biggest teams are.
Terry, we've been underperforming for the past 7 years, and we're still the most talked about team, way ahead of Liverpool, bro. Like way ahead.
100%. And we know that.
That shows you how big we are. Man United, I think people are scared as well, because they know that as soon as we go back to winning trophies, winning leagues, what can they really say? Can they say, oh, they don't belong there? No, we do. That's where we belong. So
this is how you know, right? Last night, Martin Tyler's name was trending just because Liverpool fans were upset that he wasn't being nice enough about them. He wasn't praising them enough. And it's like, people are so desperate.
They're so sensitive, bro.
It's amazing. I was laughing. They were like, he didn't celebrate enough or he didn't sound enthusiastic enough. When I was like, wow, they literally want everybody to be like, you're just the best. But yeah, there we go. Listen, guys, I appreciate you for coming on. Everyone who tuned in, thank you. Hit the like, share button. I'm going to see you all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.